Well, hello, folks. Hope you're having a swell day thus far. Not gonna lie, today's class is really for me. I did a 16-mile hike yesterday to help the Walla Walla Watershed Council. I have a friend who works for them. I helped her pick up equipment before the snow. And so just with that being where my body's at, I'm gonna teach to that. And then hopefully there are other people out there who are doing big bike rides or walks or hikes, or, you know, we're starting to get into that like raking and back out in the yard and moving things around and etc. So this is gonna be based in the lower body. We'll do some upper body stuff, that said. You ready? We're gonna start in Virasana if it's possible. Virasana, the knees come together. They don't touch. There's a lot of extra material on the side that don't allow them to come all the way together, right? But the knees move towards one another. However, your heels, they move away from one another a bit. You might want a block here, and that can be, you know, all kinds of different setups. If I do high, I personally would rather have two. I feel like I have a little bit more of a throne and stability with that. So you'll see I have two placed together, one underneath buttocks bones. So you can kind of play with what height you need. If this is not right for you and you have a knee injury, you would not do this. You would sit cross-legged, right? But otherwise, try to find yourself in Virasana. Once you get the blocks on there. And by the way, I don't think I can do it today, but some people, right, they can drop all the way down. If that's your Virasana, or maybe there's just a blanket so it's not quite a full block, find out what it is, but have your buttocks resting on something, yeah? Your buttocks bones. And then the ankles, they're gonna hug in, either to the outer hips, to the outer edges of your block, whatever that is. Literally hug your outer ankles in until your inner ankles come into contact with that surface, yeah? And, you know, don't go crazy 95% hugging in the ankles, but let them hug in gently and try to keep that. If you start to cramp in your medial arch, this is definitely work you could use, but, you know, release it a little bit and come out of it if you need to. Stretch the sole, the arch out, and then come back into it if you can. I'm taking time to break it down because this is a big pose for a lot of bodies. The knee is in deep flexion, right? We're on the tops of our ankles. And there are a lot of bodies that this is not comfortable. But if it's manageable without deep pain, here we are. Close the eyes. We're going to try and sit here for about 2 minutes. As you start to scan through the body, find out what is holding on and see if you can release any of those tensions in the body. And those muscles that are working, make sure that they're in that state where, yes, they are turned on, right, in order to sit us up, and they still have a certain softness about them. Now, if you get to the point where you could use just a little bit more stretch, for most of us, you're going to feel this in the quadriceps as they lead down into and through the knees. You could always lower your setup down once you've been there for a few breaths. And then let's go ahead and open the eyes. If you need to change positions, change positions. If you can stay, if you can stay in Virasana, stay in Virasana, right? Reach those arms out. Reach them up to shoulder height and turn the palms forward. Reach out from your fingertips, middle fingers particularly, middle finger to middle finger. Just reach out as wide as you can, trying to separate your shoulder blades away from each other slightly, right? That space right in between the shoulder blades. But think of that also happening on the front side so that there is an equanimity between the front and the back sides of your body, right? And just reach out. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to give ourselves a hug with our right arm on top. Sorry if I get my microphone. You might simply do hug. You might do eagle arms. It depends on what your body is all right with today, right? And then we're going to lift those elbows up without engaging the upper trapezius muscles. So keep the upper trapezius sliding down even as the elbows lift. And if the upper trapezius can't do that, leave the elbows down. Better not to have those upper traps engaged today. Take another breath from there. Maybe with that right arm up, You're feeling that right upper trap probably. If you lean your left ear over to your left shoulder, you might amplify the stretch and bring it up through the neck a little bit. Inhale up. Go ahead and release the arms. Don't rest them. Reach them straight out again. Middle fingers, concentrate on them, reaching away from one another. And again, looking for equanimity on both sides of the body. Bringing the arms in, left arm is going to come onto the top this time, either simply hugging or the interlace, right? And then again, concentrate on the upper traps. Keep the upper traps softening down. Keep them released as you try to lift the elbows up. And I would say for today, if you can't keep the upper traps down, leave the elbows down as well and just breathe from that place, yeah? Maybe right ear towards right shoulder if that feels like that's getting a little extra something in that upper trap or the side of the neck. Inhale up, release the arms, and take your shoulder blades. We're almost out of here after this move, I promise. Take your shoulder blades. We're going to take them through the 4 motions, right? Up is elevation, forward is protraction, down is depression, together is retraction. Take your time, move slow and move in the biggest possible circle that you can. Really gently tugging, I mean that gently tugging that fascia in all the different directions, yeah? And then you're gonna switch and you're gonna go the other direction. Now I can't remember what way I went first, so go the other way. Oh my God, we're having a huge, crazy windstorm in Walla Walla all night last night. I had my earplugs in, but the RV was literally like moving just nonstop, so I didn't sleep very well last night. And then go ahead and come right back to the center. Now, to come out of this, you're just gonna bring your hands forward and come to hands and knees. If you need to move the block, you can, or you can work around it. Curl the right toes under and go ahead and rock a little forward and back. You might feel the calf, but really we're trying to open up the back of that knee. It's been in compression for a little bit. And I think sometimes people think when I say compression that means that's a bad thing. It doesn't have to be, right? Compression can be an all right thing. Bring that right knee down. It can be a good thing, right? To move in and out of compression. It's when you're moving into, you know, a nerve getting pinched because it's compressed, that kind of thing, that I think we need to be cautious of compression. And then go ahead and bring that down. This time when you reach that right leg back, keep your toenails on the earth. Swing your right leg over to the left and go ahead and look over that left shoulder and stretch that right side body. Take a full breath here. Come back to center, bring that down. Reach the left leg back. You're on your toenails. Swing it over to the right. Look over your right shoulder. And you might notice, since we were just talking about compression, I'll just bring it up, that the whole right side of your spinal column gets a little compression, right? And the left side opens up. And come back through center. Bring that down. Take a child's pose briefly. Let that low back start to lengthen as you sink down. And instead of just plopping down, I like to encourage y'all, you know, really take your time and let the hips come down first and then lengthen and stretch out. Right, long spine, forehead down, and then go ahead and bring down the forearms. 3 breaths. Inhale into your back body wherever it feels like it might have a need for a release or an opening. And do that again, yeah? And again and again. Do it as many times as your breath allows before I call us out of it. And then if it feels good, you can let those hips just sway a little bit from side to side. And then come on up to hands and knees. Let's do a couple of cat-cows before we take a downward dog. So inhale, shoulder blades down the back, chest forward. And then exhale, go ahead and round that body up. And do a couple more of those. Again, just find your rhythm. But let the rhythm match the breath, yeah? And let the breath be fairly deep. And then when you feel like you're complete, we started with the rounding, so you might finish with the, the arching, so you might finish with the rounding. Come on back to center. Walk those hands about 2 inches in front of your shoulders. You could do a half downward dog or an active child's pose. Otherwise, if you're feeling it, curl the toes under and make your way back to downward dog, and maybe take a few moments to just pedal the legs out. Again, my microphone, I think, is right up by my mouth. I'm sorry for... I don't have a very steady microphone today, evidently.
And then maybe both heels push down, the hips move up and back, lengthen the spine. And then we're going to bring the knees down. Since we're doing this as a post activity, we're going to move without swinging legs up, stepping them forward, doing push-ups, all the stuff, right? So bring your blocks in, bring your right foot forward. And then we're going to inhale and move our hips forward and down. And then when you exhale, go ahead and you can walk your blocks back, move your hips back, and you can pull that right foot back just to start to say hi to the hamstring. Let's do that a couple of times, just rocking in and out, just getting the hippies to start to slowly loosen up a little bit, and then we'll work the lines. Just notice how it's going in there today. I'm surprised at how well my body is doing after 16 miles, but hot diggity dog, right? Go ahead and let those hips move forward. Put your hands on your thighs, push the ground away, and pull the frontal hip points up. I guess my good news is rather than being like joint pain and that kind of thing, it's definitely muscular tightness from having worked them. And from there, maybe those arms reach out and up. That's not always the case, by the way. Soft shoulders. Lengthen. Maybe you grab your elbow points. We play with that. Last week, I think we were playing with that. And reach those arms up one more time. Bring the hands down. You can move back until your left hip is over your left knee and pause there. And then we're going to kick that right foot a little further forward if it's available and flex that foot. Pull that pinky toe edge back to the pinky side, to the outer hip, and then go ahead and reach the buttocks bones back. Again, you know, some people they dive down with their nose because it's like, it's a forward fold. I got to go down to my leg. But if you lengthen the spine, that's really the good juju, because what you're literally doing physiologically, anatomically, what you're doing is you're lengthening the hamstrings, right? They're attached to the buttocks bones. So if I move my buttocks bones back, I'm literally lengthening my hamstrings. And I'm breathing, hopefully, right? Take another breath. So don't be so anxious to get down. Lengthen them with the length of the spine and the buttocks bones pulling back, and then maybe you do come further in, right? But your greatness is not measured by how close you are to your leg, right? Nor is your enlightenment, nor is your sense of worth. Put that right foot back down on the ground. You're just going to switch the legs out. So go ahead and bring the right leg back, bring the left leg forward, and then we're going to toggle back and forth. So again, I move my hips forward and down. I can move my blocks forward and back if I want to, right? And I move my hippies back, maybe flexing my left foot a little bit. I go behind my right knee initially, right? And just kind of page back and forth with that a couple of times, just starting to say hi to the hippies. When you move forward, you're feeling the right hip flexor in a big way, probably. And when you go back, you're probably feeling the back of the left thigh. Those are the hamstrings, and of course the other one's called the psoas. Come forward and move those hips forward a little bit, and then put your hands on your thighs today. Push down with the intention of pulling the frontal hip points up. Again, think of how can you lengthen that muscle. It's not by whipping your arms up. It's by leveling that pelvis out and pulling those frontal hip points up, and then you're literally pulling the muscle longer, right? Maybe those arms reach up. Maybe you grab elbow points, maybe other elbow in front. Listen to the maybes to make it your practice. You're the one in your body, I'm not, right? Keep all that length. Maybe the arms reach up one more time. Bringing the hands down, switching the legs out. We're going to start with the leg in the center. So bring the right leg up in the center. And go ahead and move those hips a little forward and down. Inhale, reach those arms out and up. Put your right hand on your right thigh, and then lean over to the right, reaching all the way as if you could reach from your left knee, pushing down, right? But everything above the left knee lengthens up and out of that, through that left side waist. Take a breath there. And then coming back to center, bringing the hands down. You're going to go ahead and you're going to move your right foot out to the right edge of your mat. Both blocks inside the right foot. Inhale, get really tall. You can move those hips a little forward and down if it's available to you. That way you'll be more on the flesh above the kneecap. And then you're going to go ahead and you're going to start to come down inside that right leg. And as always, I'll encourage you, instead of just dropping the left leg, the left hip to its lowest level, ask the right hip to move down. Really get that right hip down and in as much as it can. And then, yeah, if the left hip can go a little lower, you can take that journey, right? There are different ways to work this. One's not better than the other. One's not right. One's not wrong. So if another teacher teaches it a different way, that doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just a different thing, right? Now, hopefully I'm on that flesh above my left kneecap, because we're going to try for a quad stretch. Left hand on ground or on a block. I'm just on my forearm on the block. I'm going to put my right hand on my thigh, and I'm going to move into a little bit of a twist here. And then I'm going to bend my left knee, and I'm going to try to grab it with my right hand. I could strap that foot if I wanted to take the time to strap it. You're at home, right? You can hit pause for a second and reset, and then hit go again. But I'm going to try to bring that heel in a little bit, it's true, but I'm going to try to keep reaching my left frontal hip point up towards my left chest or my left shoulder, even as I bend that knee. I can look up, I can roll my right shoulder open so I get a chest opening. And then I'm going to bring that left foot down to the ground. Pause here, put your right hand back on your right thigh, and let that right thigh move out to the right, slightly away from you, maybe rolling onto the pinky edge of the right foot. I'm not going to turn to you today, because I'm too lazy. Please forgive me. Go ahead and bring the foot back down. Know that I was doing our watershed great work and service volunteering yesterday with my body and my time. Go ahead and bring that left foot forward, and hopefully it's easier to forgive me being lazy today in teaching. Go ahead and bring the leg, the hips a little bit forward. Inhale, reach out and up. Bring that left hand onto the left thigh, and then you're going to reach out and over to the left, right? So now concentrate on the right knee pushing down. I'm not meaning like, oh, right? But I'm moving it down. I actively root it. And then above my knee, everything, especially on the outer right, that outer right leg, all the way up, lengthens out of that right side body. Come back to center, both hands on the block. Left foot moves out, both blocks inside. Inhale. When you start to move down, right, we lengthen. Left hip, 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 which doesn't always have that much to give. And then, yeah, maybe we come down onto the forearms. Maybe that right hip does come down just a little bit. But I'm always going to be a big encourager, instead of hanging in the joints, to, have a little lift. So let the right hip move down, but then feel that frontal hip just pull up gently back up into the joint. It's also a great way to tone your muscles, by the way. Okay, y'all ready for this big move? This is the biggest one for me. My quads are what hurt the most today. I'm going to bring my left hand on my left thigh, and I'm going to turn my body into a baby twist. My right hand is grounded on whatever, my forearm, whatever it needs to be. I bend my right knee. Hopefully I'm on the flesh above my kneecap. I reach back. I try to grab onto that foot, right? And then I pull the heel in a little bit, but before I get too crazy pulling my heel, I pull my right frontal hip point up, again, where I'm not hanging in the joint, right? I tone that up, and then I try to bring the foot in. I might look up, I might roll the left shoulder open, I keep my belly toned in for low back support, etc. Right? Take a breath. Take two. Which one's tighter, the right or the left? Bring that down, bring the left hand onto the left thigh, and then I'm going to gently push that left thigh open, right? It's not so much I'm pushing it open, I'm allowing it open, and my left hand is just a little bit of leverage for the twist. I come into the pinky edge of that foot, and I breathe into that. I bring myself forward, and I come up out of that. I move into a downward dog, or my variation thereof. It's whichever one suits you at the moment. I wonder if doing all of those leg stretches, right, has changed your downward dog at all. I mean, it would change the upper body, but obviously the most, you can see it, feel it most in the lower body. Take another breath. And then go ahead and walk your hands back to your feet. We're going to do one more stretch here, and then we're actually going to call it a day on this. So if you have a wall, you can use a wall, but I'm not next to one, so for filming purposes, my wall is going to be my block. But you can just use a block, and then you don't have to move to the wall. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this is for your calves. I'm going to put my right ball mounds up on my wall or my block. My left foot, don't have it too crazy far back, right? But find a place you can balance. When I see it, the reason I say a lot of these things is I do it, I see it in my body, or I see students do it all the time, right? It's not in a condemnation kind of a way, but so instead of moving your head forward, right, to your imaginary wall or your shoulders, get your hips to start to move forward. Pull the frontal hip points up. Some of those same cues I give in most of the poses we do, right? And then from there, we're probably starting to feel the right calf. I could use a little more, so I'm going to roll up onto the ball mounds of my left foot a little bit. That's why a wall is handy if balance is an issue, right? And as I do, of course, I start to lengthen that calf. I keep rooting my right heel down, even as I pull my right frontal hip point up, right? Buttocks flesh releasing down. I keep that beautiful pelvis and that low back uber long. Take one more breath, and go ahead and let that come down. I'm going to step my left foot up, wall or on a block, some surface, right? My right foot, I don't have it too far back. And instead of moving forward just willy-nilly, I move my hips forward and I pull my frontal hip points up. This might be plenty. I might start to come up onto the ball mounds of that right foot a little bit, right? Finding my balance here today. And as I do, of course, the left calf, by the way, you could also be next to a wall that doesn't have a great surface like this one, and I could still work it from here, right? So I'm going to do that today because my balance isn't great right now. As my left heel pushes down, and I pull up, and go ahead and let that heel come on down. Let us still finish with a little bit of stillness. If you want to come all the way down to Shavasana, you can come all the way down to Shavasana. I am going to revisit Hero's Pose. And I might have the same setup with the blocks. I might be able to go a little lower. I don't force my body into it, right? I'm gonna let my knees come together. My heels are a little bit apart. I sink my buttocks down as if they could come between my heels. I rest them on something. Do have the buttocks bones grounded for today's purposes. Sometimes I'll have you hang. Not today, right? If you need a different pose, take a different pose, please. And as you pause, letting the hips sink down and the crown of the head rise up out of that. Gently hug your outer ankles in until your inner ankles make contact with the block if you're on one, or as if they would, right, if you don't have a block in there. Big toes point straight back. And again, why Hero's Pose? Hero's Pose, assuming your body is okay with it, is fantastic at stretching the muscles that run into and through the knees. So it can be a really beautiful knee helper, but again, only if it's right for your knees. If you have a knee replacement, you can't do deep knee flexion. If you have compression where it's to the point of nerve ending, pinching or pain, like don't do it. If your arch is cramping so much because you can't be on the tops of your ankles, not today, right? It's okay. And can you be in this slightly uncomfortable pose and still find peace? Can you still breathe? And can you let go of that focus on the discomfort by turning inward and noticing the breath or maybe a part of your body that feels really open and free right now? No pain, no discomfort. Let's bring our hands together in front of our chest. Inhale. Exhale, bow the head in, pause. Take a moment. May you be well, friends. May you be well. Namaste. Oh, and I didn't say, find something to be grateful for. And if you just did something pretty active, maybe the fact that your body can be that active, like holding so much respect to my body for what it did yesterday. Wow. I love you. Namaste.